You know, sometimes life throws you a reminder that you don't have it all figured out, no matter how many birthdays you've had. For me, that reminder came one quiet morning at the community park. I was rubbing my knee, the same knee that's been complaining for a decade, when I noticed an older fellow gliding past me. His back was straight, his steps unhurried, his breathing calm, like time itself had slowed down to match his rhythm. When he stopped near the benches, I figured I'd make small talk. Turned out his name was Kenji, an 82-year-old retired engineer from Seattle who'd spent a decade living in Japan after his wife passed. He told me almost shyly that he hadn't seen a doctor for anything serious in over 15 years. No gym, no supplements, no expensive equipment, just 6 little movements he did every day. At first, I laughed. 6 movements? That's it? But as he started describing them, the slow walking, the stretching at sunrise, the odd towel twist he swore could wake up every muscle in your body, I realized he wasn't joking. His hands were steady, his voice strong, his eyes sharper than most men half his age. He said the researchers at Harvard and Kyoto had been studying folks like him, people who outlive and outthink the rest of us, and that the secret wasn't genetics or diet alone. It was something so basic we've all overlooked it. Now, before I tell you what those 6 movements are, I want you to hear the story behind why Kenji started them in the first place. How he reached a point where getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. What mistakes nearly cost him his independence, and the quiet morning that changed it all. But before we move on, I want to ask you, do your joints ache when you get up in the morning? Does your balance feel off? Or your mind foggy sometimes? If so, tell me in the comments. Let's see how many of us are fighting the same silent battle. And if you're ready to learn what turned Kenji's life around, make sure you like this video, subscribe, and stay with me till the end. Because his story might just rewrite the way you look at aging. Kenji was born in 1941 in a small coastal town just outside of Osaka, Japan. His earliest memories weren't of toys or television, they were of movement. His mother used to sweep the wooden floors barefoot every morning, gliding across the boards in rhythm with the ocean breeze. His father, a fisherman, carried nets heavier than himself, but always told Kenji, "Strength isn't in the muscle, son. It's in how you move." They didn't have much, but life had a rhythm. Kenji and his younger sister would walk miles to school, barefoot most days, through narrow stone paths that twisted between rice paddies. They'd stop along the way to chase dragonflies or help their grandmother stretch before she began her day's chores. She'd bend, twist, and sway, with a grace that looked like dancing to him then. But it was just her way of keeping her body alive. School was simple. He loved math, but even more, he loved how his body felt when he ran through the rain or climbed the mango tree outside their small house. There was no exercise routine, no fitness plan. Movement was just life. When he was 10, his family moved to Kyoto for better schooling. The city was alive, bustling, modern, fast. But something changed. He noticed people sitting more, moving less, hurrying everywhere but going nowhere. His father used to joke, "The city makes your legs weak and your mind restless." Kenji didn't understand it then, but that contrast, the natural life of his childhood versus the mechanical rhythm of the city, would shape everything that came later. It planted a seed deep inside him, a quiet belief that movement wasn't just for youth, it was for survival. He carried that memory like a quiet hum inside him, never realizing that one day, decades later, when his body would begin to fail him, he'd return to those same simple movements, the ones his grandmother once called the breath of the body. By the time Kenji turned 13, the quiet boy from the coast was living in a world that never seemed to stop moving, but not in the way he remembered. Kyoto's narrow lanes were filled with noise, lights, and the rush of people chasing the next opportunity. His father wanted him to focus on education, to build a life beyond fishing and hard labor. Kenji listened, studied, and tried to fit into the rhythm of the city. But deep inside, he missed the stillness of the ocean, the kind of calm that let him breathe deeply. He joined the school's track team mostly to escape his textbooks, and to his surprise, he was good. He ran like someone trying to catch something lost in the distance. Running became his freedom, his way of remembering who he used to be. But teenage years bring confusion more than clarity. He wanted to please his parents, impress his teachers, and belong among friends who talked about money, cars, and success. Slowly, the things that grounded him, the early stretches with his grandmother, the quiet dawn walks, faded into memory. Then came his first brush with heartbreak. Her name was Aiko, a classmate with laughter that could silence his thoughts. She encouraged his dreams, but when her family moved abroad, Kenji felt something snap. For the first time, he stopped running. That pause, meant to be temporary, would unknowingly start a pattern that followed him for years. Sitting more, studying harder, sleeping less. The boy who once danced with the wind began to live like a machine trying to keep up. Still, somewhere inside him, that childhood lesson from his father whispered, "Strength isn't in the muscle. It's in how you move." He didn't understand it yet, but that voice would one day save him. If you've ever felt like you lost a part of yourself chasing what others expect, you'll know what Kenji was going through. Have you ever looked back and thought, "I was happier when life was simpler"? If yes, drop A in the comments. I'd love to know. Kenji entered adulthood with big dreams and little direction. After graduating from high school, he earned a scholarship to study mechanical engineering at a university in Tokyo, a city that felt like another world entirely. Neon lights replaced starlight, and ambition replaced peace. In his first year, he lived in a small dorm room barely large enough for a desk and a bed. He survived on instant noodles, coffee, and sleepless nights. But he was driven. He wanted to make his parents proud, to build something that would last. Somewhere in the grind of study and work, though, he stopped listening to his body. Movement became limited to walking between lectures and long nights at the drafting table. Then he met Hana. She worked part-time at the university library, quiet and gentle, but with a spark in her eyes that reminded him of the sea back home. They started talking after class, then walking together after sunset. For the first time since childhood, Kenji felt alive again. Hana encouraged him to take breaks, to eat real food, to breathe. They fell in love fast. Two dreamers trying to build something lasting in a world obsessed with speed. After graduation, he landed a job at a small engineering firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was steady. Life seemed to be aligning, until it wasn't. Deadlines stretched into nights, stress piled up, and time for Hana grew shorter. He promised her just a few more months. But those months became years. The boy who once ran freely now sat behind blue screens, his back stiff, his eyes dull. When Hana finally left, she didn't say much, just, "You forgot how to live, Kenji." Those words haunted him. For the first time, he realized success without health or love felt hollow. Have you ever lost something precious because you were too focused on getting ahead? If that hit, share your story in the comments. After Hana left, Kenji threw himself into work. For a few years, that was all he knew. Building machines, chasing promotions, and filling silence with motion. But as life often does, it surprised him when he least expected it. He met Emiko at a company training session in Osaka. She wasn't loud or flashy, but she had a way of looking straight into his thoughts. They married within 2 years, both believing love would be enough to balance life's weight. Kenji soon became a father. When he held his newborn son, Riku, for the first time, something inside him softened. He promised himself he'd be a better man, a present father. the kind his own dad had been. But life in the city had its own current, and it was stronger than he thought. Work days stretched longer, meals grew quicker, and movement became almost non-existent. He'd wake before dawn, eat toast and coffee, and spend 10 hours hunched at his desk. Evenings were for exhaustion, not play. He'd watch Riku crawl, then walk, then run, without him ever joining in. Amiko would remind him, "You used to love running. Why don't you anymore?" He'd smile faintly and say, "Maybe someday." But someday never came. By his 40s, Kenji's life looked stable from the outside. A house, family, career. But inside, he felt hollow. His body began sending small warnings: stiffness in his back, aching knees, shortness of breath after simple tasks. He brushed it off, blaming age and stress. He told himself he was providing for his family, that this was what men did. But deep down, he knew he was trading his health for security. The same hands that once built dreams were now trembling when holding his morning tea. Still, Kenji kept pushing forward, unaware that life was quietly preparing the tests that would soon shake everything he'd built. Kenji was 51 when the first real warning arrived. It started one morning while getting ready for work. A faint dizziness, a pounding heart, and a strange heaviness in his chest. He brushed it off as stress. But by evening, the pain returned, sharper, deeper. That night, he found himself in a hospital bed, the rhythmic beeping of machines echoing through the room. The doctor's voice was calm but firm. "Your blood pressure is dangerously high. Mr. Tanaka, you need to change your lifestyle immediately." He nodded politely, the way he always did when someone spoke to him with authority. But inside, he felt something break, a mix of fear, regret, and disbelief. How could this happen to him, the same boy who once ran barefoot through rice fields? Bills began piling up, and medical costs only added to the weight. Emiko tried to stay strong, but the worry showed in her eyes. Their son Riku was in college now, and Kenji didn't want him to see his father as weak. So, he did what he always did. He worked harder, pushing through the exhaustion. The harder he pushed, the worse he felt. He gained weight, his sleep disappeared, and the man in the mirror no longer looked like him. The spark was gone, replaced by tired eyes and a shaking hand holding a cup of tea that used to feel light. One evening, after another round of dizzy spells, Emiko sat beside him and said softly, "You don't have to keep pretending you're okay. You just have to start caring again." Those words hit him harder than any diagnosis. For the first time, Kenji realized this wasn't just about health. It was about rediscovering life before it slipped away completely. Fandrifirf, you've ever ignored the warning signs your body was giving. You may be thinking it's just stress. Comment. That's me. Sometimes, admitting it is the first step to change. Recovery didn't come easy for Kenji. After that hospital visit, he promised himself he'd slow down. But promises made under fear often fade under pressure. Within a year, he was back at work, more cautious but still caught in the same current. His company was growing, and his experience made him indispensable. Promotions followed, respect followed, money, stability, all the things he thought he wanted were finally his. But success came with a shadow. Every climb up the ladder demanded another piece of him. He traveled constantly. Conferences, meetings, late-night calls. Meals were fast and salty, sleep was short, and exercise was non-existent. The irony was painful. He was designing machines to make life easier for others while quietly destroying his own. He bought a new car, a bigger home, even sent Riku abroad for graduate school. Everyone told him he'd made it. But in the quiet moments, when the house was empty and the city noise softened, he could hear his own heartbeat, loud, uneven, like a reminder that time was catching up. One night, while unpacking from another business trip, Kenji found an old photo. His grandmother bending in the morning light, her body strong, her eyes alive. Something stirred in him. He realized she lived longer and healthier without doctors, supplements, or technology. Just simple movement and mindful living. The next morning, he stood in front of the mirror, tired of excuses. He touched his reflection and whispered, "I built everything, except myself." That was his turning point. He didn't change overnight, but for the first time, the climb wasn't about success. It was about survival. As the years drifted on, Kenji's world began to quiet down. The endless meetings were replaced by video calls, and the business trips turned into polite refusals. He started saying no more often, not out of rebellion, but out of wisdom. The rush that once thrilled him now just left him empty. Riku had built a life of his own in California, a promising career, a young family. He called often, but the time difference turned their talks into brief check-ins. Kenji's wife, Aiko, had taken up gardening again, spending hours among the green, just as his grandmother once did. The house felt peaceful, yet achingly silent. One morning, Kenji noticed something unusual. The air felt still. His reflection looked softer. His hands trembled slightly when holding his tea. By the time Kenji reached his early 70s, he was confronting the reality of aging. Stiff joints, creaking knees, fading balance, and the unsettling sense that his body was no longer fully his own. Though his mind remained sharp, his movements betrayed him. Climbing stairs, standing for long periods, even bending to play with his grandchildren had become challenging. It was during one quiet morning at the park that Kenji met a group of elders moving differently than anyone he'd seen. They weren't jogging or lifting weights. They weren't sweating or straining. They were walking slowly, stretching gracefully, squatting deeply, balancing on one leg, transitioning to the floor with ease, and twisting a towel in precise motions. Curious, he approached one man and asked, "How long have you been doing this?" "Since I can remember," the man replied with a smile, eyes twinkling. "It keeps us alive longer, keeps our minds sharp, our bodies steady." It's all in 6 simple movements. Kenji's interest peaked. As he watched and learned, he realized that everything he had forgotten from childhood, the rhythm of walking barefoot, the gentle stretches, the way his grandmother bent and twisted daily, was alive in these elders. It wasn't exercise in the Western sense. It was life. That day became a turning point. Kenji decided to adopt these 6 movements himself, not as a passing experiment, but as a commitment to reclaiming the vitality he had lost. Over the next few months, he noticed profound changes. His knees felt lighter, balance improved, even his mind seemed sharper and calmer. Scientific studies reinforced what Kenji experienced firsthand. Harvard and Kyoto researchers had tracked thousands of elders practicing these movements, finding reductions in cognitive decline, joint stiffness, and fall risk. Simple habits like slow walking, sanpo, daily stretching, deep squats, single-leg standing, floor-sitting transitions, and the towel twist weren't just movements, they were life-preserving rituals. Kenji realized something profound. Longevity wasn't just about diet, supplements, or gym routines. It was about reconnecting with movement, rhythm, and mindful living. He had found the bridge between his youth and old age, between his body and mind, between memory and motion. When Kenji first joined the elders at the park, the simplest movement surprised him the most: walking slowly. They called it sanpo. Unlike Western brisk walking or power walking, sanpo was deliberate. Each step measured, each breath synchronized. Inhale for 2 steps, hold for 2, exhale for 4. His first few attempts felt awkward, almost comical. Yet, after a week, he noticed subtle changes. His knees felt less stiff, and his balance during turns improved. Kyoto University researchers tracked over 3,000 seniors practicing sanpo for 10 years, finding 62% less arterial stiffness and significant drops in blood pressure. But for Kenji, the benefit was personal. Walking slowly reminded him of childhood mornings in the rice fields, reconnecting body and mind in ways no gym treadmill could. He combined Sanpo with daily stretching inspired by Japan's Radio Taiso, a 3-minute sequence of flowing movements. Kenji learned to raise his arms, twist gently, bend sideways, and march in place, all immediately upon waking. Osaka Medical College reported seniors doing these stretches had 40% fewer falls and maintained nearly full joint mobility well into their 80s. Kenji felt these results firsthand. Mornings became easier, his back pain lessened, and he regained the flexibility he thought was gone forever. Kenji built a simple routine, and minutes of Sanpo each morning on natural terrain, focusing on complete foot contact. A 3-minute dynamic stretch sequence immediately after waking, using the rhythm of breath and movement to lubricate joints. This combination, rooted in daily life rather than strict exercise, reawakened his body. If you've ever tried stretching or mindful walking and noticed improvements, comment below. Let us know your experience. And if you're ready to reclaim mobility and balance like Kenji, hit like and subscribe for more tips from his journey. After weeks of slow walking and stretching, Kenji discovered the next set of movements, ones that challenged him more than he expected. The first was the deep squat, or shinku-zuwari. He watched elders resting in a full squat, heels flat, talking or tending to plants, seemingly effortlessly. At first, Kenji could barely hold the position for 10 seconds. But within months, he could squat for several minutes, noticing stronger hips, improved knee flexibility, and easier balance in everyday tasks. Tokyo Metropolitan Institute of Gerontology followed 5,000 seniors for 12 years and found that those who could maintain a deep squat for at least 2 minutes had 70% lower risk of needing assisted living. For Kenji, squatting became more than exercise. It was freedom, the ability to bend, lift, and live independently. Next came single leg standing, deceptively simple, yet transformative. Standing on one leg for 30-60 seconds, twice daily, Kenji felt micro-adjustments in his muscles, his inner ear, and even his vision. Mayo Clinic research confirmed that seniors able to hold this pose for 30 seconds had mortality rates similar to people a decade younger. Gradually, Kenji could balance with eyes closed, or even while brushing his teeth, making practice effortless and part of his daily life. The final movement in this sequence was floor transitions, lowering to the floor and rising back up safely. At first, Kenji used a chair for support, but repetition strengthened his lower body and core, enhancing coordination and flexibility. Studies at the University of Tsukuba revealed that floor sitters had 40% stronger lower body strength and 50% better hip flexibility, with cognitive benefits as well. Kenji built a simple daily routine: to 3 deep squats throughout the day, 1 to 2 minutes of single leg standing per leg, twice daily 2 to 3 floor transitions while watching morning TV or preparing meals. If you're over 60 and have tried balance or floor exercises, share your experience in the comments. If you're following along like Kenji, hit like. Your body will thank you. The final movement Kenji learned was unlike anything he had tried before: the Tao twist, or Tanugai Hibiki. At first glance, it seemed almost too simple. Hold a towel with both hands, arms extended, and twist your torso slowly from side to side. But the moment he began, Kenji felt his entire body engage, from deep spinal stabilizers to intrinsic foot muscles. Research from Tohoku University tracked 15,000 Japanese seniors over 20 years. Those practicing the Tao twist for just 2 minutes a day lived 7 years longer on average, maintained bone density comparable to people 20 years younger, and had stronger grip strength. the single best predictor of longevity. Brain scans revealed increased bilateral activation, enhancing memory, reaction time, and reducing dementia risk. Kenji performed this ritual twice daily, once after waking and once before bed. Morning sessions awakened his nervous system, setting a calm, alert tone for the day. Evening sessions helped with recovery, improving sleep quality. The tension in the towel created an isometric contraction across his body, triggering the release of myokines, proteins that reduce inflammation and promote brain cell growth. For Kenji, the benefits were tangible. His balance improved, back pain decreased, and he felt lighter, more coordinated, and more confident in daily activities. It wasn't about burning calories or sweating. It was about retraining his body and brain to move like he once did in youth. If you're ready to try the Tao Twist, start small, 1 minute in the morning and evening, and gradually increase tension and rotation. Have you ever tried a simple movement that changed how your body felt? Share your experience in the comments. And if you want to see Kenji's full longevity routine come to life, hit like and subscribe. Your body will thank you. Kenji's journey wasn't about quick fixes, fancy gadgets, or expensive supplements. It was about rediscovering the power of movement that had been part of his life since childhood. Mindful walking, gentle stretching, deep squats, single leg standing, floor transitions, and the Tao Twist. Each movement, simple on its own, becomes extraordinary when practiced consistently, nurturing strength, balance, flexibility, and cognitive vitality. As he embraced these practices, Kenji felt a remarkable transformation. Climbing stairs no longer left him winded. Playing with his grandchildren became joyous instead of painful. Even the quiet moments, sitting, standing, or twisting a towel, became reminders that his body could still respond, adapt, and thrive. These movements aren't just for Kenji. They're for anyone over 60, anyone who wants to age with independence, clarity, and strength. They're proof that it's never too late to reclaim your body and your life. So here's the challenge. Take one movement today. Maybe a slow walk, a deep squat, or a 1-minute Tao Twist. See how your body feels, and commit to building the next one tomorrow. Your small steps can create extraordinary change. If Kenji's story resonates with you, hit like, share this video, and subscribe to join our community of seniors reclaiming vitality. Comment below which movement you're most excited to try or share your own experience. Your story might inspire someone else to start. Remember, aging isn't about slowing down. It's about moving smarter, living fully, and embracing every step, every breath, and every twist along the way.